Hey everybody, welcome to another segment of the Road Captain's Quarters with Bikers and the Beer Man. Tonight we're going to talk about route planning for your road trip. Long before you fire it up to head out on that run, a good road captain's going to have a detailed route in mind. And that route is going to take into consideration the size of the formation, the average experience levels of the riders in that formation, and how well those riders know one another. You typically want to select routes that provide good scenery, avoid congested traffic areas, dangerous intersections, and just makes for an enjoyable ride for everyone. The type of routes that you choose and how you run them are going to be way different for a small group of experienced riders that are familiar with each other versus a large group of mixed experienced riders that really don't know each other. But more on that on my other channel. Anyway, I'm Bikers and the Beer Man. Follow me for good beer and good times, and share so your friends can meet you there. All right, now that we got the TikTok version out of the way, welcome to the Masters class, and welcome to the extended version of the Road Captain's Quarters with Bikers and the Beer Man. All right, on this version, a little bit less music and a little bit more motorcycle talk. So, when you go to plan a route, obviously there's many different approaches you can use, and it's going to depend upon your situation. For example, in some scenarios, maybe you have a specific destination you're trying to get to. You may have some time limitations, and you're looking for the quickest route from point A to point B, or you may be looking for the kind of quickest route yet / safest route. And again, this all depends upon what kind of experience level you're dealing with in your formation. When I refer to groups of small experienced riders, fucking midget formation. I'm sorry. I crack myself up sometimes. Let me rephrase that. When you're talking about a small group, not a group of small riders, a small group of experienced riders that are familiar with each other, that could be a riding club. It could be a Harley's owners group chapter. It could be a group of friends that just get together and ride a lot and are familiar with each other and have a lot of experience. You could be talking about a motorcycle club, whether it's an LEMC, a support club, a 1% club. Irregardless, when you're dealing with a small group of riders that are experienced and are familiar with each other's riding styles, there's a lot more things you can do with a formation. You can run faster. You can run harder. You can take more difficult routes. It's okay to run straight through a major city really fast, weaving between cars. Okay, I don't endorse that, by the way. Liability issue here. I'm just saying what you can do with a small group of experienced riders that know each other really well is a lot different than, say, if you are in charge of road captaining a charity run where you've got everybody from the guy that just bought his first Harley 2 days ago, all the way up to that guy that's like 87 years old and is still able to kick over and ride a shovel head, and much respect to that guy. So with the mixed experience level group, especially if it's a larger group, you're going to want to go slower. You are going to have to make more frequent stops. You are definitely going to want to avoid congested areas, city traffic, take those bypasses, take the routes around the town. If you have that smaller group and they're more experienced, if the fastest route takes you through whatever it takes you through, and that's what you need to do, then you can take that. Or even if it's a scenic route. I mean, let's talk about like California 36 if you happen to be out there riding. If you're not familiar with California 36, people from all around the world fly in just so they can go ride California 36. And it's an extremely winding, narrow, hilly road that goes across the Sierra Nevada mountains. And it's not for amateurs. I'll let you know that right now. I also wouldn't recommend tackling it with like a Sportster. I wouldn't tackle that route with anything less than a touring bike or any other bike that has that type of range, for that matter, because Pretty much you're about 140. Well, I think there's one gas station along about a 140-mile stretch, getting over the mountains on that pass there. But beyond that, yeah, and God help you if that one's closed. Anyhow, I digress. Getting back to the point, route planning. If you're doing a nice leisurely ride that is designed for larger groups, that's where you're going to stick with that whole concept of get out and away from the urban areas, suburban areas, hit those pastures, those cornfields, those nice highway roads, out in the open where you got little traffic lights to deal with. You don't have a whole lot of other traffic to deal with. Everybody can just be nice, relaxed, and don't have to be 100% on guard. You should always be on guard when you're riding, but you know what I mean. So those are good. And you know what? You can do that with the experienced groups too. Let's be honest, you're probably going to do those at about 100 miles an hour. But anyhow, once again, I digress. One other thing you want to take into consideration, and I kind of hit on this just a little bit ago, is that the range for the different bikes in your formation, it's not all going to be the same. So you may have a touring bike, you may have a Street Glide or something like that you can go out and you can run 200 miles in between runs, especially if you're on a Street Glide or an Ultra or Road Glide, and you're riding by yourself and you're 140 pounds. You could probably go a pretty long distance, especially if you're not burying the throttle. However, take someone like myself that is definitely not 140 pounds and throw a passenger on with me, and I'm not going to have that same range as you. You might be getting 200 plus miles off of that one tank. I'm probably going to come in around 180. There might be somebody else there. I mean, a Sportster, somebody's got a, chopped out shovel head with a peanut tank that only holds 2 gallons of fuel. They're only going to be able to run, maybe 75 miles before they're going to have to be stopping to top off again. So you're going to have to take that into consideration when you're planning your route. Is you're going to have to make sure your fuel stops are readily available. And there's even like medical considerations here that you want to take into account, where you may have to stop more frequently. I've had rides where there were cancer patients involved. One gentleman was a little bit older, and he just didn't have the energy to really go more than about an hour at a time before he needed to stop for a few minutes in most cases. I had another run where the guy was younger, but also was on some cancer meds and needed to stop a little bit more frequently for the purposes, because of his medication. He required eating a little bit more often than normal. Like he needed to have food, every couple hours, at least, in small amounts, so you never know what kind of things you're going to have. And as a road captain, it's your job too, before you execute the ride, to have a feel for what type of situations you might be dealing with. Make sure you're getting around and you're talking to all the people that are going to be on the ride. Because if you're there and you're introducing yourself, they might be afraid to bring something up unless you approach them. If you approach them, introduce yourself and start that conversation, they'll probably be more at ease to say, hey, by the way, I'm a chemo patient and I really can't ride more than about an hour at a time before I need to, stop and get off the bike for a few minutes. And so get out there, know your riders, get a gauge for what kind of experience level they've got. And again, when you're planning your route, especially if it includes people you're not familiar with, make sure you're just kind of planning that you're going to have some of these issues. So don't go trying to plan, 200-mile stretches at a time, expecting to keep up a pace of 90 miles an hour the entire time. That's not realistic for a large group of people you're not familiar with. Small group of people that yeah, different story. But that's just some things to consider when you start putting together a ride for a group as the road captain. Anyway, thanks for listening. I'm Bikerson the Beer Man. Follow me for good beer and good times and share so your friends can meet you there.